This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we're live from South Morang. Thank you to the Zait Bar and Lounge who have hosted us today. Just want to check that the folks online can hear us. If everything's going out there okay, can you hear us, folks? Just a thumbs up or a nod or whatever. As you can see, I have the Mayor of the People's Council of Frankston sitting beside me. It's great to have him. Thanks, Darren.
No worries, Carl. Thank you.
So, Darren, we've got, I think the easiest way to describe what's happening at the moment, there is a movement.
There is a huge movement, and the people are taking their power back, and they're not waiting for elections or anything else. We've devised a few projects, the People's Trust and the People's Council, and of course the community venue of my place, which I started 12 months ago, which now we have about 6 or 7 around Victoria. Mildura just started up this week, and they've jumped from 16 to 64 members in less than a week, and had a call from a farmer up there today. Lots of wealthy businessmen and farmers up there are really keen to get behind Kylie and Kathy and make my place thrive and get a venue for them, and then potentially start their own People's Council in Mildura as well, because from what I can gather, their council's like a lot of the other ones around this country, and they're run for the elite and not for the people. So,
Darren, how have you discovered this with people coming to you? What are the issues they're saying their local council are ignoring, or how is their local council failing them?
Local council is a bit like the government. It's just purely overreach, taxing and fining the community out of existence with cameras and parking sensors now in Frankston that they've rolled out. They're not supporting the community whatsoever. There's about 6 or 7 people sleeping rough at the moment down at the boat ramp at Oliver's Hill, which I had called in and seen them this morning. I'm having a meeting with them tonight. I've offered them a venue where they can come and park their car safely and use the shower facilities and toilets at my place in Frankston to get them, because the council are threatening to tow their vehicles and they've got no homes to live in.
So that's 7 people. I mean, and I'm not saying that's not an insignificant number. It's great that you can help that, but there must be thousands of people sleeping rough on the streets in Melbourne at the moment. I know in Queensland, on the Sunshine Coast, there are 2,500 people, including kids with families or parents with kids in the back of their cars sleeping rough on the beaches at night, or in their cars along the beaches at night. It's warmer in Queensland, so maybe we have more people, I don't know. But how's that looking in Victoria? Is that an issue?
It's a major local issue. It was in the federal election. It was one of the things that I kind of ran on in the Dunkley electorate. And we've in this election campaign for the state seat of Frankston that I'm running for as an independent. We've got, I think my cameraman's got about 76 or 77 empty shops and commercial premises in the streets of Frankston. That's in the CBD. So they're all sitting there, vacant, dilapidated buildings that could quite easily be utilised if we had a little bit of money where we could do a deal with the landlord where he didn't have to pay any rates, and we get a cheap rent for a couple of years to try and get a facility where they can get off the streets and get some food and comfort and have a wash and feel human.
So this is a problem you've identified that I've seen all around the country. There are so many vacant shops. I'm thinking of Ipswich at the moment. I'm thinking of parts of the Sunshine Coast. I'm thinking of parts of Brisbane and the Gold Coast, especially in very high traffic areas. The problem, I believe, particularly in the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, is that the owners of these buildings live internationally and they don't care if there's nobody in them.
Yeah, well, that's probably correct. I don't know that for a fact, but it's all, in my opinion, it's all by design. The middle class have been ravaged every time we have one of these financial crises like 2008 and the one that they're about to roll out now. It's purely to to rip the heart out of the middle class and small family businesses. And even in the lockdowns in this fake pandemic that we've just been experiencing, all the big businesses got to open and thrive. The bottle shops were open. You could deliver grog, and you could go to all the multinational stores unabated. Yet all your family small businesses got shut down. So they're on their knees. They're crying for help, and we know that there's going to be a massive amount of bankruptcies coming up in the next 3 months between now and Christmas. And I can guarantee you it won't be the big business that'll be going broke. It'll be the mums and dads and the family businesses, which is all by design. And once those premises are empty, the people that are hanging on and still own those premises in your local towns will have no choice but who's going to come in and buy those cheap assets, the cheap shares and the cheap commercial properties, the big multinational developers. And this has been going on for decades. It's in your face now, and people are starting to see it. And we're exposing all this stuff across our area, but not and across the country. So people are really starting to take notice of what's going on and recognise it for what it is.
You've got not just initiatives to help house people, but tomorrow we were meant to be going to Shepparton, folks. And hello, Francis, if you're watching, I'm terribly sorry. We're not going to be going to Shepparton tomorrow. The problem being that we may not be able to get out of Shepparton, given the water situation at the moment. So we will make that up to the folks in Shepparton, have no fear. At the moment, though, you're working on a number of different plans to help not just people who are homeless, but to feed people, to clothe people, and to build the community. Now, I know that My Place is about building a community. We'd like to get a My Place going somewhere around here, whether it be at Whittlesea or Wallen or here. A My Place, you and I were talking earlier, is a way to begin this community process. It has to start. I was talking to some folks outside earlier. I said, how do we help grow this movement? It starts with your neighbour. It starts with your across the road neighbour. It starts with the person around the street you haven't spoken to for 20 years and making friends. It doesn't matter whether they're jabbed or not jabbed. Obviously, you don't want to get too close if they're jabbed. But we have to have a handout to these sort of people to help them, because when the big pill drops, they're going to come to us, or they're going to be too embarrassed to come to us, too humiliated to come to us. And they're going to need the support of the community. And this is the community that Darren and others are trying to build at the moment. And you were talking about the mechanism of building it earlier. I was telling you about how Singleton had gone out, organised their mayor, had their votes and all that sort of thing. And the first question out of your mouth was, do they have a My Place? So My Place really is a key to all this, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is, because My Place is a starting point as far as I'm concerned, and having a venue is critical so that you can meet anytime, 24/7, and you've got to have somewhere where people can come and feel safe, and you've got to grow the community under that umbrella first. And what we find, obviously, I'm part of a political movement also, but I find that the political engagement is very low. The common law engagement, their groups don't grow. But the minute you step away from isolating yourself or pigeonholing yourself into a specific area and just make it fully about community from all walks of life, that's when we get massive numbers and an influx of people. So we create platforms. We have researchers. If they want to come out of the house, we've got a team of researchers. We've got people that are on a council action group that all they have to do is go to the local council meeting and sit there for an hour and a half and be bored shitless. But there's a role for everybody. If you create those roles, people will come along and say, well, I'm a nurse, I want to be part of the health group, or I'm into the food and gardening, I want to be part of the permaculture group. So if you have all of these groups and you will match, and we're finding that we're blending so many different people that are poles apart normally, in their mentality and the way they go about life, that we have spiritual people that are becoming more practical, and we have practical people that are becoming more spiritual, and we are blending. Everyone is seeing what the other people are bringing to the table, and they're taking bits and pieces out of everyone. They have a deeper understanding of who they are, rather than they're just a group over there doing this and there's another group over there doing that. So once you're all in the same room, and this fake pandemic has probably brought us all together. We would never have met each other if it wasn't for this. And we find that the groups that are so different in so many ways, on one issue, we are like blood brothers and sisters, and we are learning to get along and understand each other on a level that's never happened before. And that's why the community of my place is so important. You find all the people you need then to go off and start these other projects like the councils. You'll have professional people that'll come in. I mean, there's all walks of life that are awake and anti-authority and smell the bullshit. And we have a raft of really highly professional, educated people, and people that are spiritual and healers as well. And we're all blending and as cohesive as any community that I've ever been involved with. And that includes a football club or a cricket club where you get more fights and bitching than you do with a group like this that come from all over the place. So it is the key, and then you can start to strategize and roll out other programs within that community.
So tomorrow, because we can't go to Shepparton, we're now coming to one of your initiatives. So do you want to explain to us how that's come about, that thing's been set up?
Yeah, well, that's once again, a lot of the people that joined my place last October when I opened, they were all, well, not all, but a lot of them are healthy kind of alternative people and spiritual people. There were a lot of market goers. Now, obviously, they weren't allowed to have their normal market stall because they weren't vaccinated. They didn't have a vac certificate. So probably March this year, the council were having their annual street art festival, where the laneways that are all painted at the back of my building were open to the public. And I thought this is a perfect opportunity to open up the roller door and set up our own market and a market on my land. There'll be hundreds of people walking past Saturday and Sunday. So we went back to back with our first markets. And then we've created and built that now. I think we've got 50 odd stalls tomorrow from 10 o'clock till 3 p.m. at 457 Nepean Highway in Frankston. And we're getting people coming from far and wide to come and see the market, and it's growing the vibe. Everyone, even all the market stall holders, say they get treated at this market better than any market they ever go to. The feeling, the vibe, and the love and the help. I mean, we got a crew of people that are there helping everyone get their stuff unloaded so we can move the vehicles through. We've moved it upstairs now into another room. So we've got Nepean Highway, we've got people out there helping people unload, setting up their marquees, setting up their tables. And then also at the end of the day, we've got volunteers helping everybody pack up, and it just runs like clockwork.
You've also told me that you've gone off to a local apple farmer and said, gee, what a wonderful orchard you have. How much do Coles pay you for it? Tell us that story.
Yeah, well, there is one in Upper Pakenham, and my place Lilydale, or my place Yarra Valley, probably ahead of us as far as sourcing food. They've got, you can put orders in for potatoes, eggs, honey, apples, and now we've sort of they're jumping over us. We better pick up our game and start to do a little bit more work. So yeah, there's plenty of we're trying to get that gate to plate where we cut out the middleman. So the more effort we can put in, the more we can stop people spending money at Coles and Woolworths, these multinationals that have ruined our farmers for decades, and they pay them a pittance, and people walk off the land or commit suicide because they just can't cope with the bullshit anymore. And it starts, well, I mean, all the people here in the audience, I mean, you don't have to change the world. You've got to change one person and one person's mindset, and that's your own. You have full power where you spend your money, who you defund, right? PayPal, all of a sudden, because PayPal put this ridiculous notion up last week that they're going to fine people start bitching and moan about them. Well, on a whole different level, everybody should be really scrutinising where they're spending their money. Stop shopping online, use cash, all the stuff that we're trying to roll out to make sure we keep people employed and we stop going digital and A1, because that's where we're heading. Once again, the power lies with the people. If we get together and do this en masse, we win.
So genetically modified food has come into the sphere of public knowledge recently. There's been some talk about GMO milk, needles, injections being given to herds, cattle herds, infecting not just the milk but the meat as well. What you're suggesting here, a paddock to plate kind of thing, that means you're going to develop a good relationship with the farmer, the breeder. He's not going to do anything that's going to, in theory, hurt you. There are some pressures that they'll have to face. I'm sure farmers have to face pressures from the DPI, but we're aware now of what the Department of Primary Industries is trying to ask the farmers to do. Truth be told, it's probably been happening in other parts of our food chain for quite a long time. We're just starting to be made aware of what they're thinking about doing with cattle and sheep particularly. So building a network like you suggest with clean farmers, if you like, farmers who aren't going to be towing the Coles or Woolworths line, because at the end of the day, you're offering prices that are better than Coles and Woolworths are paying anyway, aren't you?
Probably on par,
yeah.
But we know what they're like. They've been doing it for a long time. The smaller greengrocers and butchers outside the big supermarkets, they come out, they take notes, and they go back inside and they undercut them. And people think, oh, it's no cheaper out here. I might as well just get everything at Coles and Woolworths. So once again, it's a bit of self-discipline by us, and be willing to spend a little bit more in those areas and a little bit less on wasteful things that we buy that we don't need, that sit in the wardrobe for forever and end up getting thrown out. So we've got to retrain ourselves as a starting point and lead by example. So the gate to plate thing is a massive thing that we need to find farmers and work out a way of co-op or an Osmart, something where we can say, we're going to buy your whole year's produce and we'll distribute it to take it away from the big boys.
Does that mean that we need to find the next Lindsay Fox?
No, not necessarily. We need to find maybe 1,000 other people that local co-ops. We don't want to centralise things, and we need to decentralise the power. And we need thousands of people doing this on a community level in your own backyard. I've been saying for a long time, the time for walking and talking and banging drums is well and truly over. And I stopped doing that 6 or 8 months ago and started on something that's real, something that can be done straight away, and that's retraining the community and bringing them on board and explaining to them why and how we need to move ahead.
So the next step for you is what? Well, obviously you're running for the state seat of Frankston as an independent with some A1 support. Clearly, you would like to get that gig because from inside you can make greater change.
Disagree.
Good man.
I totally disagree. I don't believe there is a political way out of this. We've been trying for 50 years since the old Don Chip and Keep the Bastards Honest campaign. Yeah. Pauline Hanson. Anyone that goes in there and won't conform or be bought out or bribed, they get rid of. Len Harris and Rod Cullerton potentially. And the ones that are still in there, I guarantee you, it might look like they're fighting for you, but they're not.
Yeah.
All right. And any political party, you've got this so-called Freedom Party in Victoria that are running. Once again, I had an argument with them last week. They're running a candidate in every single seat, diluting the vote. Pauline Hanson, UAP, all running a candidate in every single seat to dilute the vote, where you've got a real patriotic independent running. And they dilute the vote to a point where Liberal Labor might get 28%, but one of them's going to get in. So if you are a registered party, you are unconstitutional and you are unlawful. It's that simple. So anyone votes for, I don't care whether it's GAP or One Nation, they're all unconstitutional. And the quicker we get our heads around that and leave this matrix and leave the corrupt system that's there, the better off we'll all be.
Do you know how many seats UAP are challenging in Victoria?
No, I don't.
So I'm not sure that they've rolled out the unfettered bankroll and are putting somebody in every seat, but they will be putting them in key ones. You can be guaranteed about that. We've got Craig Cole, who will have up shortly for a bit of a chat to tell us more about how A1 are going to be facing the coming election campaign. Darren, from an outsider's perspective, this campaign, even though I was a born and bred Victorian, I haven't lived in the state for 30 odd years, or on and off maybe for 30 odd years. But even from an outsider's perspective, this state is in real trouble. But all we hear outside the state is that Dan Andrews is going to get re-elected again. Is that a real possibility, folks? No? Yes? I mean, be honest. Is it a possibility? Yeah. So I see a lot of people sadly nodding their heads. So How do you combat dickhead Dan?
Once again, it's irrelevant whether he gets elected or not. It really doesn't matter. If the people walk away from the system, there is no system. It collapses. So it doesn't matter whether they're going to be charging cows for farting or burping or anything else, or bringing in bio acts and all the bullshit that they're doing. It's irrelevant. It's only relevant if you feed it and give it relevance in your own mindset. So if we form groups and we walk away and we don't recognise any of this authority en masse, it doesn't matter who gets voted in. The thing's going to collapse, and that's what we need to be doing. So we've got to leave the system, not keep fighting it, because we're banging our heads against a brick wall.
So we know that government is struggling at the moment everywhere for money. I don't know how many of you have come across the Sydney Morning Herald article in the last 24 hours or so, confirming that the Reserve Bank of Australia has produced a loss of $37 billion this year. Aware of that? Are you aware that the Royal Australia or the RBA is no longer allowed to print money? Where does government get its money? No, it doesn't get it. No, it doesn't get it from us.
Pfizer, Moderna?
That too, yeah. But you think your taxes are what goes to government. They don't. Your taxes go straight to the cabal. The government then gets money from the central banking system. And that's how money comes into the government system. It's got nothing to do with your taxes. Nothing at all. So they are double dipping in so many different ways. And the reason that you wind up having high inflation and associated other bits and pieces with the financial system and being rorted with interest and all that is because it's all borrowed money. You know, it's not your money being put back into the roads, it's money they've borrowed or printed from the RBA. Do you know how much a $100 note costs the government? 32 cents. It's what a $100 note costs to make, 32 cents. And then the RBA sells that to the government for a fee, and then the government puts that out into circulation for a profit. That's how it works. So we need to look at our financial systems, and obviously there are some different things being thrown around at the moment in the digital world. Everybody here's probably heard of Bitcoin. I don't talk about Bitcoin much because I simply do not understand it. I've had people close to me who think they know a great deal about it and do know a great deal about it, have made a lot of money out of it, but I don't understand it. So please, if you've got questions about Bitcoin, I am not the bloke. I might know somebody, but I'm not the bloke to talk to about that. I don't trust digital money. That's why at the moment, Darren, I think you've followed suit. The best advice is to get your money out of the banks and into a metal of some kind. Now, how does this help your community? Does this bring the wealth into the community again, do you feel? Like instead of the wealth being kept in a bank somewhere and people having to go to a machine or beg the person behind the teller to get the money out, is there going to be, because let's face it, if you've, I'm probably over-speaking here, I don't know, if you're lucky enough to have 50 bars of silver, 50 kilos of silver, let's call it, and the price of silver goes from $40 an ounce to $40,000 an ounce, you're going to have a lot of silver. You're going to have a lot of money. People are going to go from very little to a great deal in a real hurry. Inflation could be an issue, but there's a plan for that. So let's assume that the inflation has been capped. We can keep a good rein on that spend. People all of a sudden are going to not be fighting to pay those bills because there will be no bills. Your electricity is already paid before you get the bill. Your phone bill is already paid before you get the bill. They take your money, that money, out of your CQV trust. What they do when they send you that all italicized bill is hitting you again for it. Okay? So it's just a huge rort. They are banging you twice for it. And who here knows about your CQV trust? Yeah? Not a lot though. I advise you folks to do a little bit of investigation into what a CQV trust is and what your straw man is. Because your straw man is how they operate your CQV trust, and they're stealing your money from you. And they're making you pay for it again when they do that. The judiciary are very good at this sort of thing. So that's something to be aware of. I think, Darren, when people have got a few more bucks in their pocket, building the community, building the infrastructure, sharing the love is going to be a bit easier. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're very close to the golden age, and getting rid of the corporations and defunding them is the plan that we're working on at the moment, helping people challenge their rates and all those corporate invoices that they send out that are unlawful. And yeah, look, I've been encouraging people, and I'm no financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice, but anyone that hasn't taken as much money out of the bank as they can and bought some solid precious metals. I'm big on silver because silver's been suppressed with the printing of the fiat currency, like out of sight. It's way more suppressed, and it will go up exponentially more than what gold will. So your 10 grand or 20 grand worth of silver is going to be worth a lot more than your 10 or 20 grand worth of gold in a year or two's time. And we all know the property prices are going the other way. So I've also deleveraged and got rid of a property at this stage, trying to get rid of another one before the crash comes. I don't think I'm going to get there because it's imminent. But yeah, I don't care because it's not about money. I mean, I've got my whole life's work on the line at the moment. It's all at risk. It's not protected or anything. But I really don't care because if we don't win this, everything I've done for my kids' future's irrelevant anyway. If they don't have a free and fair democratic country to be able to thrive and do the things that I've done and create, it's worth nothing. Money's worth nothing if we don't have freedom.
Are young people understanding that message? Are young people understand that we're actually fighting for them, do you think?
A certain amount do. I think it depends on who your parent is, and that's the same with anything. If your parents are switched on and educate their kids to what's real in life and the real world and don't protect them, and that's the biggest issue parents do. They think they're doing their kids a favour by wrapping up in cotton wool and not telling them just how harsh and puerile that the planet really is. And the kids grow up thinking it's a beautiful world out there, and they leave home and they can't cope, and they turn to drugs or alcohol or worse because they've been sold a lie all their lives. So it's important that we tell our kids the brutal, honest truth from the day they're born, and that's exactly what I've done. I'm fortunate enough that I have 4 beautiful grown-up children that are safe and listen to me and can see it, and can see it really, really large. And none of their friends in their groups have anywhere near the same work ethic or knowledge about the world and what's going on than my kids do.
So I suppose with my place, you get families coming along quite a lot. Is there a thought of an education process for the little kids? Because this is generational. They've done this to us generationally. All right, it's not just your parents or your grandparents, it's their parents and their grandparents and their grandparents before that. This has gone generationally. We have to start with them young, like the bastards are doing in our schools, right? Trying to teach them that, you can be any sex you like. They're getting them young. We have to do that.
Yeah, we're already doing that, and we've got a large homeschooling group that's part of one of our committees. And there's so many different levels. We're having an open day towards the end of the year to help transition parents that aren't sure how to go about leaving the system, and they all think it's too hard. So we're trying to create a pathway for them and give them the information. So we're going to have an open day with multiple different rooms because there's all kinds of different homeschooling and unschooling, and I couldn't even list them all, to be honest. But it is important, and not only that, but we've got people in our community now that are having children at home and not registering the births. We've got 2 couples now that have been married and haven't registered their marriage. So once again, it's not fighting them. It's just removing ourselves from the system and not taking part in it. It's that simple. It really is. And we do that in numbers, and we support and get behind each other. We don't let anyone drop off the back of the herd, and we get the strong ones get around the weak ones, and we bring them in. And we're encouraging any of us that are going to court anytime soon that courtroom is going to be packed out for every single court case.
That's right. The more witnesses in the courtroom to their fraud, the better, and it makes them feel very uncomfortable. So, if you can get along, if you've got a day you can spare and one of the freedom fighters is in court, go along, sit in the gallery, show your support, because not only will it'll support the freedom fighter, but it'll put a big warning shot across the bow of the judiciary, who are waking up to us. They're being challenged now in a variety of different ways over a variety of different sorts of charges. At the moment, I don't think they've gone too much into the criminal sphere, mainly minor infringements and traffic and parking and that sort of stuff. But there are other areas where it has been used to great advantage. In fact, Mike Holt, any of you familiar with Mike Holt? Yeah, Mike Holt, we had a chat with him the other day. He was very proudly telling us that he'd beaten the Victorian judicial system. He'd been charged with reporting under a suppression order. He'd reported from Queensland. The suppression order was tacked on the door of the Victorian court, so he'd never seen it. They charged him about a year after with speaking publicly about a suppressed court case. He told us during his chat with us that he had beaten the Victorian court system, challenged it by telling the judge he didn't have any jurisdiction, yada 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 yada, and he won. I said, "Oh, you won." I said, "Well, how would you like to get on a plane and come down to Victoria with me this week and come and do a few shows?" "Oh no, I'm not going back into Victoria." Because he hasn't won. He's stalemated the system, and they're just waiting for him to come to Victoria to lock him up and have another go. And he knows it. So for those folks who are following that train of thought, that little action that Mike thinks is a win, it's not. It is a win if you never want to go to that state again, right? But rest assured that if you've done that in a state, any state, your name will be highlighted. And the next time they find you going to Queensland for a holiday, if that's the state you committed the offence in, you'll be spending it inside a jail. So the same applies down here. So be careful of the solutions that are on offer in the courts, particularly some of those common law solutions where they say, "Oh, we'll win, you'll get the judge to stand down, and when he walks out, you'll own the ship." It's full of shit. Unless you really know what you're doing, unless you're really well educated and you know exactly what to say, you are going to fall foul of their system again. You will enter contract with them. That's what you need to avoid at all costs. And if you don't know what entering a contract with them is, it is as simple as saying, "Is your name blah?" and you saying, "Yes, Your Honour." It's that simple, and they've got you from there. They don't even need you in the court after that. They can manipulate you any way they like. So there are little things that you need to know if you're going to go and fight a common law battle in a court of law. That's all. Darren, sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked about that.
That's all right.
We are going to do some common law education around the state in the not too distant future. If you're interested in learning a bit about Magna Carta 1215 and how common law can actually help, get in touch with any of the girls here. Kerry, Isabel was over there before. Isabel's very keen, I think, to get a common law group going down around here. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, please come and join us. The Voice of Freedom Common Law Group is about to kick off online, and Cherie, who helps me out a great deal, will be looking after that along with Fitz. So you'll get a really great education. We don't want you to go to court and fight for anything. We want you to just live as free beings and not be impeded by the people who feel they have some level of control over you. That's the big thing. Stepping up like Darren has done is something maybe somebody here can do in this area. Darren, what's required to start at my place?
Well, I've actually got some pamphlets over there that can hand out. So we've got a bit of a dot point blueprint of how to start at my place. First thing is as simple as finding a suburb or a country town and saying, "My place, Mildura." Just started this week. It was 16 members. It's now got 64. And it's got a really good one that rang me last night. So it's not that hard. I'm available today as well to talk to anyone that wants to talk about it. But just on the court stuff as well, that we're at a stage now with the trust that I've actually received an extortion letter from the Sheriff's Office, which is what I've been waiting for. So now that they've sent me that threatening letter that if I don't pay the $2,860 fine, they can instruct Vic Roads to remove my license, cancel my registration, clamp my car, raid my house, my bank account. So now that's criminal. It's extortion every day of the week. So once we get to that point, and I'm looking for people all around Victoria, and I'll be putting a call out for anyone that has a sheriff's letter that's started their payment plan, because once you start the payment plan, that removes the gun that's been held in your head. And now we're getting paperwork ready this week to sue Julie Brown, who penned her name on that letter. and the sheriff's office for extortion. And we'll be looking to get a class action going. Also looking to do a similar thing against the dickhead of the local council, Bruce Gardner, who's an ex-AFP officer, who's fining me or taking me to court for not removing my election material under a Town Planning and Environments Act that we know is unlawful and has no royal assent. So we're going to give him one chance with a letter to withdraw that charge for that reason. If not, he'll be going ahead on my terms and conditions, and I'll be suing him for defamation as well. So we've got to stop just defending now and work out a course of action to actually strike back.
Yeah, and we do that as a community. It's hard to be a community if you haven't got a place to gather and have a chat. So my place is key to that. So let's see whether or not we can't get something coming up in the north end of Melbourne. I know there's something in the Yarra Valley already, and you've got a couple of others floating around. Is there one in Werribee?
Not yet. There's one almost in Geelong. There's one up in Emerald in the hills, one in Lilydale, which is the Yarra Valley, one in Rowville, Mildura, and they're going to be popping up everywhere. I've been speaking to so many people, and it's only a matter of a couple of weeks before we've probably got a dozen or 20 My Place Facebook pages and community groups started. And I'll be trying to get around and encourage them and help them in any way I can.
So because different things are grown in different parts of the country, I can tell you that there is a gentleman in Newcastle at the moment who is trying to organise something very similar on a community scale, but on a very grand scale at that. Now, somewhere down the track, do you envisage that we'll be able to produce swaps, if you like, between states? You get the pineapples from Queensland and we'll get the spuds from Victoria, that sort of thing?
Oh, well, eventually, if there is no massive takedown that everybody's been waiting for too long, and that doesn't happen, then that's why I've taken this course of action, because this, in my opinion, is the answer. If there's no bigger thing happening behind the scenes, which I'm still confident that there is, but if not, we can't believe that there is. We've got to act as if there isn't, and we've got to grow these things and create co-ops. And we need a constitutional law association similar to AMPS that Professor Christopher Neal set up against APRA, Australian Medical Professional Society. He's got a lot of doctors on board, and it's just a matter of setting up new, same as Bob Hawke did in '86. He set up a parallel government, a corporate government, took us away from our parliament, our constitutional parliament, and we were none the wiser. There's no reason we just don't return the favour and set up our own businesses that don't have to be incorporated, like private members associations, and we move forward growing all of these things that we need in a society, and we go alone.
Wonderful. DArren, thanks for coming today. I know it's a bit of a drive up from Frankston, and I really appreciate you coming along today and sharing the My Place and the People's Council ideas. Just on the trust, how's it going? Getting a lot of people sending stuff in?
Yeah, we're getting a lot, and it's going to get busy because we've just changed the authority letter now, so that you won't need to use cheques anymore, which is going to be a bit of a bugbear for a lot of people. One, because maybe they don't trust the trust, and they believe we can bank their cheque because it's made out to the People's Trust and run away with their money. Or two, the banks are getting a lot more stringent on handing out counter checks. They're getting onto it as well. So we've changed the wording that now that you're undertaking to pay the invoice, if it's found to be a legitimate invoice, which is the same as an IOU or a promissory note, it means the same thing. It's a lawful currency, basically, having taken an undertaking to pay something, if it's proven to be true and correct. So the paperwork's going to be easier. You won't need checks. You won't have to worry about us running off your money. And so, yeah, I believe, I think we're heading towards $400,000 or $500,000 worth of checks already.
Wow.
But I think with all the rates notices being produced at the moment and us making it easier, that's just going to get busier and busier. And we're starting to actually look for some donations, because we're going to have to start paying people. We can't use volunteers anymore, so we will be putting a call out soon if people are keen to donate to the trust, so we can actually start to pay some people to process this. It's about half an hour for each letter. That's what it takes. So by the time you undo it, unravel it, scan it, type in all the information, send the letter off to the council. Fines Victoria, we can't email, so we've got to put them in a letter, get a stamp on it, drop it at the post office. So it's quite an onerous task, and that's why we did originally put the $10 fee on it, but that was when it was all going to be kind of volunteers doing it. Now we're going to have to start paying people, otherwise we're not going to keep up. It's getting that busy. So we will be putting a call out at some stage out there to get people to support us.
All right, cool. Well, let us know and we'll see what we can do to help when that time comes.
Yep.
Shane, Sam?
No worries. Thank you very much, Carl, and thank you all. Cheers.
DArren Bergwerf, ladies and gentlemen, wonderful man. And you'll be seeing a bit of him over the next week or so because, well, for about the next week or so, I think I'm going to be staying with him. We'll be down at my place. You'll get to see exactly what my place looks like down there and what you might need or what you might like to put in a shed near your place and make it a my place for your town. A really great initiative. I'll take this opportunity to invite Craig Cole up. Craig is Victoria's, well, I'm going to say A1 leader. And Craig is running in the Victorian state election, and we'll learn all about what A1's plans are, I hope, for Victoria in the coming future. Craig, thanks for coming, mate.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you
cool.
very much.
Good to see you. You might have to eat that microphone.
Yeah, I'll sit a bit closer, mate. And thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming down today. God bless you. And just if I can briefly, everyone give DArren Bergwerf another clap, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
So, Victoria, fun place to live. Great place to wrestle.
More fun than a barrel of monkeys, mate. Bloody fantastic. It was a great place to wrestle, and thanks for touching on the memory lane. So
that's all right. We go back away. He doesn't remember it, but I met him on one of his first nights he ever went wrestling.
Yeah, that was early days.
Yeah, early days. Mate,
I'd love to smash a few chairs over Daniel Andrews' Scott, but anyway, we'll get there one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big ask. I think you'll be well into hiding if you actually manage to get close enough to pick up a chair.
I think if any one of us get in, Darren or myself or whatever, I think good old shoelaces would curl up in the fetal position, along with all the rest of the Labor politician cowards. But we'll get onto that. I will mention those guys before we get off here today.
So what's the plan? A1 have had a go at the federal election.
Yep.
Didn't get anybody in.
Yep.
Managed to stand 10 people in 10 seats, and great people they were.
Yeah, they were.
And still are. Not that they died or anything.
They are still.
Yeah. You were one of those folks.
Thank
you for the effort that you put in there. What's different this time around?
What's different? I don't know if things will be different. It's the same strategy we're using, obviously, running independent candidates with the full policy and support of A1.
Mm-hmm.
And as Darren touched on before, political parties are actually unconstitutional.
Yep.
If you have a look at the Constitution, it clearly says you vote for, as an elector, you vote for a representative, not a party. Okay, and it's one of the lies that we've been perpetrated for quite some time and indoctrinated to believe that you vote for a party and the only way you can make any difference is to vote for a party. Well, we're changing mindsets around that. And to change mindsets, as you know, is a long, arduous, frustrating battle.
What's the biggest argument you find against that when you're on the streets campaigning, when you're trying to explain that to people?
Yeah.
What's their reaction?
Okay, so I'll answer the first one before and then I'll get onto that. We'll break it up into two parts. Okay. So what our strategy obviously is to, and we're going through the process at the moment, so you should expect all of our the independent candidates with the full policy in support of A1 to be identified, I'd say, later this week. Okay. At worst, early the following week. Okay, so we're currently going through that all the vetting and interviewing process at the moment.
And that's a deep process, isn't it?
Mate, it is. It is.
Do you want to explain why?
Well, firstly, you can't be a dual national. Okay, so if you put your hand up to be a dual national, and it goes a bit deeper than that. If you put your hand up to be a candidate, and you're a dual national, excuse me, it's not as easy as that. It's actually if you've got links. Or you have the option to become a dual national. So, give an example. So you might have your parents from, say, the UK, even though you're born here. Okay, there's an option that you are still able to get a dual dual national
Dual
citizenship.
passport,
Yep. So you actually contact the British consul and let them know and renounce that you will, not be ever requesting a dual national. So you've got to go down that one. So it's not that easy, okay? And we want to make sure that, they're fully vetted, so there's no surprises either, and we're putting up creditable people. Look, we had 10 fantastic, amazing people at the federal election, and we're hoping, obviously Darren's put his hand up to run again. I'll be putting my hand up to run for the seat of Monbulk. And it's interesting, they call them districts now, Carl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like the Hunger Games. Districts. Yeah. No coincidence there, of course, but districts. They're not called electorates anymore in Victoria. They're called districts. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dan's been known to make a few changes.
Yeah, we're going to make a few changes to Dan as well too. Yeah.
Another back brace?
Well, and the rest of his little Labor minions, because, I'll go back to, so I think I've answered, what we're doing in terms of strategy, but one of the strategies going forward is we have to remind people, and every scumbag Labor politician that wants to kiss babies and get out in the street now, we're just going to remind people that every single, it wasn't only Daniel Andrews, but every single Labor politician told you that you weren't allowed to go and visit your loved one in a nursing home. You weren't allowed to keep your job unless you got an experimental vaccination put in your system. You weren't allowed to go more than 5 Ks from home. You weren't allowed to go to the shops unless you put a face nappy on. You weren't allowed to send your kid to school unless, and so on and so on and so on. Those same old Labor politicians, along with insects like Fiona Patton, isn't she an insect, ladies and gentlemen? Yep, and Andy Medic as well too. We've got clowns like that said they were quite happy to sit back and say, well, that's okay. And we're quite happy for the people of Victoria to have their businesses go broke. The suicide rates went through the roof. Mental health issues went through the roof. Those same people that were happy to sit back and do that now want your vote. You're kidding, give me a break. And we have to remind people of that. They don't deserve to operate a toy battery car, let alone sitting in Parliament governing us at all.
Yep, here. Is it a surprise to you that you've got to remind people of this fact?
It is. It is.
I find it staggering that they need reminding.
It is, Carl. It's, and you're seeing it now, the floods at the moment, the magical floods before the election down here and good old Andrews has come out and promised a $2,000 cash payment to all the flood victims now. Once again, buying votes.
Yep.
You've got both sides. It doesn't matter, as you know, at Liberal Labor, it's 2 wings of the same bird. They've all Matthew Guy's done out. Oh, we'll give you more money for this. We'll give you buying votes. I mean, it's actually disrespecting people's integrity by thinking they're that low and they're that easily fooled that we can throw some money and they'll just vote for us.
Unfortunately, people have been put in a position now where they believe $2,000 is a lot of money.
Well, yeah. Well, to me, it is actually.
Well, it is to me too. Trust me.
I'm going to the moment.
But in the big scheme of things, what are we going to do with $2,000? We're going to pay 3 weeks' rent and buy a bit of food.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're right.
So it's not. I don't mean to be disrespectful about the $2,000. That is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to save your life. It's not going to move you forward. It's going to let you exist for the next 3 weeks. How do we get past that point? How do we, I think Darren's community programs and My Place and the councils, I think is a great way. But how do you, from a political sense, help people push past that?
It's changing mindsets.
Yeah.
Okay, it's changing mindsets, and one of the disappointing things and one of the challenges is, as I've been saying for 2 years now, and Ricardo's been saying for a long time, we all have to become people we've never been before. Now, what that means is, that sounds great on a bumper sticker and it looks good on a piece of paper and up on a screen.
Yep.
Okay, but our purpose, method, and our end state, and part of that method is how we're going to go about it. How we're going to go about achieving our end state of Australia being a model sovereign, self-reliant Christian Western democracy that's economically powerful, military intimidating, politically free, culturally vibrant, and socially cohesive. That's where we need to get to. Now, I'm giving you the long answer here, okay? So bear with me, please. All right. Now, as we know, what we want to do is, and what Darren's doing is the start of it. We're the pioneers here. Make no mistake whatsoever. We are the pioneers.
Yep.
And I say this in my presentations. They're going to sing songs about us in 200 years' time. You know why? Because they have to. There's two options here. We've got option A. We're going to be known as the generation that saved this country, or we're going to be known as the generation that allowed this country to slip into a one-world totalitarian hellhole. Yep. Now, I know which option we're all choosing.
Yep.
It's option A, okay? But for that to happen, we all have to become people we've never been before. That means doing things we've never done before. That means having conversations we've never had before.
Yeah.
Part of that, a big part of that is what Darren's doing. We don't want to go back to how it was pre-COVID, because it wasn't that freaking good in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, since 1974, we've watched our manufacturing. We don't have a manufacturing industry anymore, Carl. And we used to arguably have, you turn my mic down, the foghorn voices again.
No, it's just the feedback on mine, I think.
We used to have the greatest car manufacturing in the world, arguably.
Yeah.
We don't even have one now.
No.
And that's all one that doesn't matter who it is, Liberal or Labor, and we all know the strategy behind it and why. Okay, but we want to go back to better than what we had before.
Yep.
Decentralize everything. Communities looking after communities. You know, when I grew up, you had the a lot of you people will remember this. You had the Clydesdale horse that used to deliver the milk.
Yeah.
You know, and you used to
Or
leave
the
him.
Clydesdale that used to tow the shit cart
Yeah,
behind you.
Yeah. Used to leave your milk bottles at the front, letterbox
Yeah.
with the money. The milk used to be there in the morning with the thing on top.
Cream in the top of the
Yeah, exactly. We want to go back to those days where community was look after community.
Yeah.
So no matter who's in governance, and we will be the government of choice one day, make no mistake about that, Australia one. Make no mistake, okay? But it's about giving back your sovereign power as your sovereign being and sitting in your sovereignty. Okay, you know, the kingdom of God lies within all of us. We know that. Okay, now that's about becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, and then emanating out and looking after everyone as a collective. People like Darren, God bless him, okay, pioneer. We'll make a statue of your Daz in 200 years' time, and we'll promise we'll put it where the pigeons don't crap either, mate. All right?
Mate,
okay.
with that fluoro.
But yeah, well, yeah, you know, you might be.
Very true.
Okay, but getting back to your point, this is, so in terms of where we want to get to is we can self-govern. Yeah, sure, you need someone to steer the ship, 100%, but it's about empowering Australians to reach their highest individual potential.
Do you think of not just Australians, but humanity at mainly a gross level, a big level, are scared of having that sort of freedom?
You've never had it before.
Never had it before.
No. It's funny, human nature, where that fear is created of the unknown, even if it's a good thing. Now, we like to sit in our comfort zones. We like to be comfortable. So it's like, oh yeah, well, the government's no good. We know they're corrupt, but what can you do? Well, there's a lot you can do. Like from day one, all us awakened people have said, if everybody stands up and says, no, I'm not doing it, they can't do a damn thing.
That's right.
They cannot do anything. But that fear, we sit in that fear and we sit in that uncomfortableness. But it's part of that pushing through the unknown is where the fear lies.
Fear of what? What is the government going to do to you? They're going to lock you down anyway.
Exactly.
They're going to stop you seeing your sick relatives.
Yep.
Stop you going and seeing your old folks in old folks' homes.
Yep.
They were going to do all that to you anyway.
Yep.
So the fact that not just Victoria, but the entire country meekly went off into the back room and put a mask on is amazing to me.
Yeah, we used to be a tough country, didn't we?
Yeah, there was a time.
Yeah.
There was a time, but now we seem to, and I think this comes with the abdication of responsibility, because government have stepped up to say, oh, you don't have to do that, we'll pay you for it. You don't have to do that. We'll look after that. And now it's a lot easier for many people just to say, well, the government will look after that.
I think a big part of it as well too, and this is a sad indictment of society across the board, is that unless you're personally affected, you're not going to give a damn and you're not going to get involved. To give you an example, I was having a chat with a tradie last year when the lockdowns were going on, and he was, oh yeah, look, I feel sorry for people, but I'm okay. I'm getting paid. And I just looked at him and I thought, man, that's really sad. You know, so long as I'm okay, Jack. I mean, we never had that mentality as a country, you know, but so long as I'm okay. But now people are going to start to be personally affected really soon, so they can, you know, the good old see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. People have got their heads stuck in the sand. Well, they're about to get a real rude awakening, Carl.
Now that we've got the 4-bedroom house, we've got the 2 cars, we've got the caravan, the boat and the holiday once or twice a year. Is it just simply selfishness?
It is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But let's not dance around the issue anymore. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Let's just call behaviour out for what it needs to be called out. It is selfish. It is 100% selfish, and it is cowardness. I don't care if I offend people, because I've been doing it for 2.5 years anyway, as long as I keep going. So, you know, I'll call a spade a spade.
Yeah, me too.
It is selfishness and it is cowardness. I mean, and I'll give you an example. It's like, you know, you get a lot of police say, oh yeah, no, we want to stand with you. Well, bloody stand with us.
Yeah.
And these people that say, oh, we need to wrap our arms around the police. And, well, I'm sorry. I mean, you had that idiot Shane Patton come out the other week and say, oh, no, he's bruised about what happened. You know? Yeah.
He's bruised.
I'd love to bruise Shane Patton. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't freaking stop. Okay, he wants to see bruises. I'll show him bruises. I mean, he was okay bruised. He was okay when his goon squad, and that's the public order response. I mean, not one of those imbeciles could pull the fluff off a cappuccino, seriously. But when they're
dressed up and suited up,
seriously, get me in the ring with any one of them, seriously.
Yep.
But you had them fire rubber bullets on unarmed people protesting, upholding their constitutional and human right to protest. And you had his goons firing on them. You had officers choking in the street. We've seen the footage, choking in the street, young innocent women going about their business.
Pushing old ladies to the
ground and pepper spraying them. And he was okay with that. But now all of a sudden he's bruised.
Yeah.
And you had other members of the police, Victoria Police, standing by and not saying a word and condoning it. I'm sorry, you belong to that organisation as well too. You are just as guilty. I don't give a stuff. If you want to stand with people and you want to raise your voice, it's about time you got off your asses and stood with us.
Yep,
and stop pussyfooting around and standing with the people. There's no more of this. I don't care. There's no more. There's no love here. You were happy to stand by. You were part of an organisation that fired on innocent people, and you stood there and said nothing. You're just as bad as the people that pulled the trigger.
I think that has to be, in my living memory, one of the worst things I've ever seen on Australian soil. That would be right up there as the worst thing I think I've ever seen on Australian soil. Our own police force firing on our own people.
Yeah. Has that ever happened before, Carl?
Not that I can think of, not that I can recall, unless it was some university demonstration back in the 60s, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the first time on it.
I mean, and look, I grew up in Melbourne during the 70s and 80s.
Yes,
how many of those big union protests?
Yeah.
You know,
they're painters and dockers.
Yeah.
They were
much rougher, tougher men.
Tough men.
Didn't see them getting shot at.
No.
Didn't see them getting pushed down.
No.
Didn't see them getting trampled.
No.
Don't see any of those union people, because why is that? Oh, that's right. They all fund the Labor government.
Yeah. They're all Secker stooges.
Yeah.
They are.
There's a reason not to join your union, folks. I know there is a great reason to have unions, but I'm yet to see how they
the
work.
union members have been infiltrated, as we know, and John Secker's Daniel Andrews' bitch. We all know this, okay? Well, he is. Sue me, John. I've got no money anyway.
Yep.
And the good old shop stewards, they're Setka's little gerbils. They run around and do what John says. because they haven't got a brain between their heads, and they just intimidate their union to pay their fees. I mean, the only time you see the shop stewards is when it's time for election, and they'll intimidate people to vote, their union members to vote for Labor, or they're come to collect their union fees. That's the only time you see the shoppies.
Why is it that people are intimidated by the incumbent government? Why do they allow themselves to be intimidated by them?
It's a good question. I wish I had the answer for that.
Is it something to do with the fact that we feel they're giving us something we don't deserve and they might take it away? Because if that's the case, then that's really the wrong mindset to have. We don't give government anything to have them take it away. They take everything and give back what they want us to have.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, more people, but once again, it goes, the cause of any problem, you go back to the source.
Yep.
Now, the source is people's mindsets, okay? What we have to start getting, the basic premise of governance is that you elect a representative in an area to be a voice for you, not your master. We tell them what to do, okay? I mean, okay, so that's where we have to start educating people, especially over the next...
Let's start with the word representative.
Exactly.
Who knows what the word representative means? So if you are a political representative, you elect someone to represent you in Parliament, they are representing you. Not them, they are representing you. They are meant to represent your thoughts, the wishes of your community. That's why you elect that person, because you trust them to represent your thoughts, your feelings on the big issues. How many people think the person that represents you at the moment represents your thoughts, feelings, and desires for the country?
Show of hands, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Not a one.
Carl. What a surprise.
Not a one.
Yeah.
Why do we keep electing the same people back into government?
Thank you. Thank you.
You don't. That's right.
Now, if I may, Carl, now that's part of what we've got to do go forward. Okay, now you have to ask people that question over the next 6 weeks. Do you want to keep voting for these idiots? Do you want to keep voting for these people? Now, sorry, I'll get back to, when you ask me a question, Carl, we tend to go around the line.
Mate, conversations go around the world for me. It's all good.
Well, yeah. One of the obstacles we have in terms of getting people away from the two-party preferred system is this, okay? And it's, once again, it's the indoctrination that the incumbent governments ram down people's throats, and they'll get them thinking, well, the minor parties can't do anything. The minor parties will just clog up the country. No, okay? Now, stay with me on this. When people say to you, well, the minor parties can't do anything, no, that's a lie, and that's a misconception. How's this for a scenario? Okay, now bear with me. At this state election, all right, now Australia, we can't, as independents, we can't hold the balance of power, all right? However, how about this? Darren Bergwerf, local member for Frankston. Craig Cole, local member for Monbulk. We've got James Laurie up in Bendigo, East Bendigo, local member for East Bendigo, so on and so on. We get 3 or 4 people elected into their grubby system, because sometimes to win the war, you've got to defeat the citadel, you've got to get in. Exactly, okay?
Yep.
All right, so we'll jump in the trenches and start taking heads. Don't worry about that, okay? Now, can you imagine we get into Parliament, every bill that is, first of all, our maiden speech. You can imagine what Darren's maiden speech is.
Oh, yes.
Okay? All right?
Yeah, I'd pay money to see that. Darren's saying, what did he say? Why are people clapping? Don't worry about it. We'll tune it in later. It's all good.
You can sell tickets to what my maiden speech will be like, mate.
Yeah.
Okay?
Will there be a chair in one hand and will you be swinging?
Oh, no, it'll be, they'll
Animated.
Animated's a very good way of putting it, Carl. But you get us in, we give our maiden speeches, okay? Then when it comes to voting on things, we don't vote. And we get galvanised support of other miners and we don't vote. Then we get someone put from the fake news media prostitutes, okay, who are complicit in this, and they will hang as well too. Believe me, they will suffer the consequences of them driving the fear that they've driven in the community, and quite happy to drive the misinformation that they've driven for the last 2.5 years. But just imagine, Mr. Cole, why aren't you voting on anything in Parliament? Well, we're quite happy to vote. Once the government once they address the pedophile suppression order that's at a federal level,
Yep.
once they repeal the state of emergency, once they repeal the Agricultural Amendment Act, okay, that allows authorised officers, like who they are, we've got no idea,
Yep.
with no warrants to go onto your property, the farmer's property, and shoot their livestock and just completely destroy their grains under the assumption, no proof,
Yep.
under the assumption that there might be a
Foot and mouth or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we want all that repealed. When that's repealed, we'll vote. Okay, so will it bring the state to a halt? Maybe, but it'll get a whole bunch of excuses of expression. I won't use the terminology sheep, but a whole bunch of people that are asleep getting to stick their heads up and start taking notice. Okay, so when you say that the miners won't make any difference, that's wrong. I've just given you an example there how we can make one hell of a difference from day one. Okay.
Well, here's hoping it happens. Because like you say, you don't need all 10, 20 or 30 people in there.
Yep.
You need 2 or 3.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Yep.
that's going to make the
I'll
difference.
tell you what, we walk into the doors of Parliament House, myself, Darren, and a few others. It'll be like one of those Wild West movies, mate, where the posse rides into town and all the cowards will flee into their buildings and hide under their desks, mate, I guarantee you.
I might have to volunteer as your media manager.
Mate, we'll GoPro it. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You touched on the pedophile suppression order. There's only so much we can say about it on my channels because YouTube are going to take us down.
Now, how wrong? Sorry, Carl. How wrong is that?
Yeah, that's the issue
Right.
I was going to bring up. Actually, yeah.
Sorry, this is a free medium. It's supposed to be YouTube.
Yeah. Well, as
Now-
long as you think along their lines of what free is.
It's not a conspiracy. It's a fact. We do have a pedophile suppression order in this country, and more than one. Okay. Now, the fact that if you openly speak about it on this platform, that you are likely to get shut down is absolutely beyond the disgrace.
Great, thanks. We should be shut down after that. You'll have to find me on Project Matilda. If you can't find me on any other channel, that's where you'll find me, folks.
Yeah, but we won't speak about it because, we can't.
Yeah, and that is absolutely wrong. I mean, we can turn this off, this thing here, we can turn that off right now, and we can have this conversation here. But you all know about it. What we need to do is figure out how we get the media to start talking about it. And that leads me to probably my final set of questions for you. The media is the biggest issue that we are facing, both in our day-to-day battle of what we hope, dream, and wish comes to fruition. But for you, you're fighting it on a different level completely, in that you will get no promotion, you will get not even bad publicity out of them, because I know any publicity is good publicity. So how do you as a candidate, how does Darren as a candidate, how do you get yourselves heard when you're going to have well-funded opposition, Labor, Liberal, LNP and One Nation coming at you? How are you going to get heard in this space?
All right, thank you. And you just set that up beautifully for this to come home, Carl. You're a professional, mate.
That's right.
All right. Now, just the
You
UAP.
forget sometimes.
Well, the UAP aren't a registered party anymore. They deregistered themselves. So I don't think they're running any candidates in the state election. They were never going to run in the state election anyway.
Yep.
So, but you've got others like the Freedom Party who just want to, we're going to, being grandiose and running candidates in every electorate. It's just wrong because you're diluting the vote. But anyway, how do we do it? All right. The good old-fashioned way, mate. The good old-fashioned foot slog way.
Yep.
Go from door to door to door, knock on businesses, introduce ourselves, let us know who we are.
Shake babies, kiss hands.
Well, not shake babies. Can't be doing that. But Just getting out in the streets, going around to businesses, knocking on people's front doors, introducing ourselves, letting them know who we are, having our army of supporters go around and campaign, a letterbox drop and do the same thing as well too. Have meet and greet nights, meet the candidates the good old-fashioned way. Okay, have heaps of those leading into the election. The good old-fashioned way, and that's the only way we can do it. And this is why, for a long time, out since day one, the message has been build the army, build the army, build the army, because it is needed. An army of people is needed now for what we need to do for the next 6 weeks, but not only for the next 6 weeks, to get out and build community groups, to keep spreading the message, to keep getting involved. And if I just may finish up with one last thing. With all due respect and love, ladies and gentlemen, I know every one of you guys are here are invested, okay? But I cannot reiterate enough that it is time that each and every, and I know a lot of you guys are already doing it, but it is time that each and every single person in this room and your friends and your loved ones, we all need to become people we've never been before, all of us. And that means doing things that we've never done before and having conversations that we've never had before. It is time. Talk is over. Every single one to win this war is going to require that. And we can do it. Yeah, sure, the odds are against us, but geez, I love the story of David and Goliath. Okay? Us Aussies, we're at our best when we're the underdogs. We are. Okay?
And we're known around the world for it.
Yep, our greatest achievements on the battlefield and on the sporting field have come when we're the underdogs. We're the underdogs now, and we're going to prevail. But it can't be left to a handful of people. Everyone's got a role to play. Everyone's got a skill set, and everyone's got a role to play. And your country needs you.
Yeah.
Okay? Thanks very much.
Thanks, Craig. Craig Cole, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to wish them all the best. I know they're going to run into a few problems. There's plenty of people in the state who want to vote A1 or vote an A1 independent and support them coming up in this election. The problem is you may not have someone in your electorate to vote for, district these days. So you may not have someone in your district. Well, that's because none of you stood up to stand in your district, right? That's the issue. So I heard so many complaints from people after the federal election. Oh, there was no one we could vote for in our electorate. Well, that's because nobody stood up. If you wanted to vote for them and nobody stood up, why didn't you stand up? We have to think, and this is going to what Craig says, you have to think differently. We have to work differently. These bastards have been screwing us over for millennia, and we've only just started to wake up to the fact that this is what's happening. We have to work smarter, not harder. And we have to work together as a community. I don't know if you saw the little talk I gave in Singleton when Ricardo came a couple of weeks ago. I talked about the weapon. We are the weapon, people. Individually, we are little grains of rice. Little, small weapons. If you like guns, think of a derringer. All right? Dangerous at close range, but pretty useless if you go into war. All right? But when you band everybody together carrying a derringer, you've got a very large weapon. A weapon that no government can overpower. A weapon that no government can beat. We are the weapon. Don't go and protest, begging for your rights back. Reassemble the weapon. Don't go on a march. Reassemble, because we have been disassembled. The people's rights have been disassembled. We need to reassemble them, and the only way we can reassemble them is by reassembling ourselves, bringing ourselves together as a community, individually, small communities. Those smaller communities reach out, start playing table tennis, winds up into a football match or a tennis club or a golf club or a cricket club, and all of a sudden we have communities playing against each other. We're all having barbecues after the game. We're all discussing plans, thoughts, and ideas on what works for our future. And we're not going to ask government to deliver it, because we need to stand up and be responsible for ourselves. We need to stand up and take responsibility for the decisions that have to be taken. Now, I know not everyone can stand up. Not everyone wants to go to war. Not everybody wants to fight a fight. Not everybody likes to stand in front of one of these things and talk. They find that intimidating. That's the easiest thing in the world for me, right? The intimidating thing for me is that I can't talk about the pedophiles, is that I can't give you the names of those 28 people when I know them. The intimidation comes from government. We have to fight back. But as single people, that isn't going to work. We need to come together in communities like DArren Bergwerf is building and others around Australia now. And from those communities we grow. We band together. We've got a strong relationship. And you know, people move in and out of communities all the time. So if you've been part of this community and you go to a town that doesn't have one, don't say, oh shit, my town doesn't have one. Build one. Because nobody else is going to. You know what to do, go and build it. That's what this is about. Word of mouth, person by person. I wish there was a way we could snap a finger and make it all right today. I wish those of us that are, you know, and I'm not, when I say us, I'm not including me, I mean those people who are actually in this war and fighting it on a much deeper level than I am, or ever would be able to do. I wish that could just end now for all of us. The suffering has gone on enough. Well, we think it has. Maybe it hasn't, because not enough people have woken up and not enough people are standing up. So the suffering continues until you people stand up. You're the only people who can stop this. The government isn't going to stop it. I can stand here, sit here, talk to these people online, talk to you online in your lounge room every day until I'm blue in the face. But I'm just going to get in the car and go to the next event and try and get those people to stand up. When I leave here today, you people are the ones who have to do something, all right? The next thing I have to do is get to DArren Bergwerf's place and have a beer and figure out what we're going to talk about in the next show, all right? But be guaranteed it'll be talking about you and getting you to try and stand up. I don't know how to motivate you. I don't know what I have to say to make that happen. But there are plenty of us out here saying enough that should give you at least an inclination. Oh, maybe I could stand up. Maybe I could be the mayor of the People's Council. Maybe I could, you know, put a bit of tin up on the shed out the back there and the guys could use that as a my place. You know, we put a little road in there, put barbecue, put a television. You know, that's all it takes. Something to build on, but we need somewhere to start. And it's no good starting with me because my place is going to be on the road. My place is going to become your place. I want to come to my place, all right? I'll go around the country creating them. You're the ones who have to run them. You're the ones that have to promote them. You're the ones that have to attend them. You're the ones that have to care for them. Do you want to? Are you capable? Will you stand up? I hope so. Please stand up. Because if you don't stand up, we're all stuffed. I mean, DArren stands up. Craig stands up. I'm standing up. The Cossack is standing up. Guru's standing up. We're all waving at you. Where the fuck are you? Stand up. Stand up. Here is your opportunity. Okay, today I'm here. Ask as many questions as you like. The man with the plan to set up at my place is sitting over there. He's wearing a bright orange fluoro shirt. You cannot miss him. If you have a question, bring beer. He likes that and he'll answer. But be prepared. When we talk to you, we're not just, I mean, I love shaking your hand. I love having a great conversation with you. But I want you to stand up. All right? I'll come and meet you any day. We can have a chat. We can go and have a beer. We can have tea and toast. I don't care. But stand up. Do something. Don't just say, oh, I'll come and see you next time, Carl. Great. Come and see me next time. That's great. But stand up. I want to come and see you. I want to come and see what you've created. Okay? I want to see what you've created for us, the people. Because us We are the ultimate solution. Okay? We are the solution. The government isn't going to help us. Your next door neighbour isn't going to help you unless he stands up. And then I hope he's going to encourage you to stand up. Will you be the next door neighbour that encourages the next one to stand up? That's how this movement grows. Door by bloody door, because that's how they did it to us. Door by bloody door. Thank you, folks. I think I'll shut up now. I don't think I've got anything left to say. I do get emotional about this. I have, for a variety of different reasons. There is a lot going on in my life you don't know about. This isn't, we've all got shit going on in our lives. That's just our lives. Let's just make it better shit, right? I'm standing up. I'm trying to make it better. I need you to do that too. I need you to join me. Join me with the voice of freedom. That's what it's about. It's your voice. I'm the only one out here shouting at the moment. I need your help. DArren needs your help. Craig needs your help. Simeon needs your help. Guru needs your help. No, he doesn't. He's a legend. But we need your help, because otherwise we're just players putting on a show for you. If I wanted to be a bloody actor, I'd be acting, right? This is my real life, folks. I'm showing you my real life, and I hope you will show me yours. Stand up. Stand up. That's all I can say. We need it everywhere. Thank you once again, folks, for coming today. South Morang, thank you to the folks here at the Zait Bar and Lounge. Absolutely wonderful. Great venue, and really appreciate everybody who's come on. Got a couple hundred people here today, maybe, who've come along to show their support for the Voice of Freedom, to help out with Craig, to help out with DArren. Thank you, folks. Thank you. I see great potential in this room. Let somebody here stand up. Who's going to be the first? That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see. Arms. Oh, yeah. Isabel. Isabel, for those folks watching online, Isabel is the lady who invited us here today and set all this up. So it's very easy. If you want us to come to your town, all you got to do is email Cherie. Cherie at vofhq.com. We will put you on the list. We will come to you. It's just a matter of finding the fuel to get there. Happy to go anywhere in the country and talk. But the responsibility is yours. I'll come and talk. I want to see you stand up. I want to come to your place. I want to bring my place to your place. That's what we're going to do. So, with a bit of luck, we can have that. Craig, you want to?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, mate. I forgot to mention a couple of things before.
Sure.
Thanks very much for, can we give Tony, from the owner of the venue, a big clap? Tony's a great supporter. He doesn't charge anything for the venue at all, and I've run presentations here and he doesn't charge a cent. So God bless you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Absolute bloody legend. Obviously the staff as well too, and the McEwen A1 supporters team as well for putting this on, Isabel. Yep. Well done, guys.
And to that team, thank you. Yeah, particularly to that team, thank you for the donation that you gave me. I've now doubled my silver intake, folks.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well too, guys. There's a bucket for donations. I mean, Carl's driven down from, where have you driven from, Carl?
Brisbane, we started at.
Yeah,
and,
wow.
We'll go to Tasmania before we're finished, and get back up through Queensland, New South Wales before we get back up far north Queensland.
That's amazing. So it does cost a bit of money, obviously, the price of juice at the moment. Yeah, there is a bucket over there. You can make some donations for Carl for his efforts in coming down and giving his time and investing, because we talk about sacrifice. To achieve any goal requires hard work and sacrifice, but let's change that term sacrifice into an investment. We're investing in our future. We're investing in our freedom.
Yes.
Okay. And there's also a food preservation. Put your name down for some food to obviously work with other communities and for some food preservation. And Carl.
Yes, mate.
There's also to sign up for the a petition to
Zait Bar VIP Lounge.
A petition. It's been a long day, mate. To sign up, put your name down for a petition to release the pedophile suppression order. Okay, and some Well done.
That petition's over there, folks.
Some bloke's supposed to do a walk to Canberra on that as well too. It's been well overdue. So I did the walk. Yeah, I did the walk from Williamstown to Torquay.
Oh, that's a good stagger.
Yeah. That was 22 hours straight to raise awareness for that. Did that Good Friday last year.
Wonderful.
The gentleman clapping there, Big Kev Vitaly, sat in the car behind me for 22 hours straight, not a wink of sleep. Well, did he get any sleep, Bell? Or he did?
I drove for an hour.
You drove for an hour. Well, he slept for an hour. So yeah. So the idea is to walk from Melbourne to Canberra over about 2 weeks. So,
wow, mate.
I'll
come and do about 17 feet with you.
That's fantastic, mate. You just provide the foot massage every night for me, Carl.
That'd be good. Isabel's your person.
No, that's okay.
Isabel's the reflexologist in the family over here.
Fantastic.
Look after that.
And guys, just to finish off, how about a big round of applause for Carl and Laura?
Wow. You want to come on too? Oh, look at Bergwerf's back. He's had 2 beers. There you go. Oh, you'll have to sit down, otherwise the people won't see you.
Yeah, all good. Just a quick one, guys. We've had a new My Place start today, so thanks, Tina, for starting My Place Doncaster.
Yes!
I've already joined. It's already on My Place Frankston, so people are aware of it. And thank you to everybody today. You've been a great audience. I have got some stuff here. If you want to be part of the very first People's Council, we are an ideology at the minute. We're not bin collectors or road fixers. This is a movement. It's a statement. We stand under the red ensign flag as free living men and women under the 1901 Constitution. So anyone can be a member. The first 1,000 members, $10 for a lifetime membership. It's purely a nominal fee because paid up members hold a lot more weight than a subscription. And I also have some flyers there on some dot points on the blueprint for how to start a My Place. We're working on a full brief on the My Place model, which we're going to get out to people as well. So it's just sitting on the bar table here in the middle of the room. I'll be over there so you can come and see me. And once again, thanks very much. And we've got to keep building community, no matter what happens in this election or what happens in the next few weeks. We've still got to be there to pick up the pieces. That's not going to be solved by anyone apart from us, we the people. Yep. So it's important, no matter what happens, that these communities start bonding and working together cohesively to help the people that are about to get hit with the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, yeah. Thank you, Craig. You're a legend. One other project I've been working on for the last few weeks also is the significance of the Shrine of Remembrance. You're a legend, mate. It slipped my mind. This is massive. Oh, thank you, Grace. This is massive, and that building, the significance of that building, our foundation stone, our freedom was given to us, and that foundation stone was laid 88 years ago. It's the 88th anniversary, 11/11/22. For all you numbers, spiritual people, they're pretty powerful numbers from what I'm told. My mission is to get 1 million people to that building at daybreak, hopefully. We want to be there early. We're going to spill over onto St Kilda Road and the King's Domain, and we need to recognise and stand in our jurisdiction under the red ensign flag, the one that we fought the First and Second World War under. And that's a starting point on our transition back to potentially the Magna Carta and judged by a jury of 12, which I know is... So I've got some Kiwi originals, elders that are pushing hard for all the Kiwis in Melbourne and Sydney to get to this event. to reignite that Anzac spirit. And I believe if we get 1 million people on that day, and as we get closer, we might be able to march down to Spring Street and say, we're here, take our fucking state and our country back. So this day, once again, is going to go down in this country's history as one of the most significant, and it will be remembered forever. So be a part of it and make sure you get everyone along. It's on a Friday, so we all get to have a long weekend, and make sure we get there. It's only 4 weeks away, and that's going to send a statement like no other. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Just remember, folks, that's a 1 million person weapon. Okay, that's a 1 million person weapon. That's the kind of weapon we need to make change in this country. So look forward to seeing you in Melbourne on the 11th of the 11th. Madam, you've got a question? Oh, great. Dominic, didn't know you were there. Dominic standing too. Wonderful. Standing as an independent in what district? Oakley. There you go. Got someone in Oakley. A1 supported independent in Oakley. Congratulations. Thank you for having us on. Didn't know you were here. You should have come up and seen me beforehand. We'd have had you on too. Bit late now. Sorry. Life, the universe, and everything must go on, folks, and that means that I've got to get out of here before it gets too wet, and you should go home and make sure your house hasn't floated away. There is a bit of that going on in Victoria at the moment, so with a little bit of luck, that won't have happened to anybody around here, but we are very close to the Plenty River, and it is on the rise as well. Thank you, folks, for joining us online today. It's unusual for us to do a show at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there will be another one in a few hours. We're going to talk with Will Keats from the UK. That is going to be a conversation about Magna Carta 1215 you don't want to miss. If you think Fitz is good, you wait till you meet this bloke. That's all going to come up about 7 o'clock tonight, depending on how long it takes me to get to Bergwerf's place and how much he plies me with alcohol on the way there. My daughter will be driving. Let's just point that out. Thanks, folks. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much for your support.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!